Guys, today's video is going to be another plan with me. I am currently planning out the next 2 weeks of our Bible unit study. We are up to Abraham, so I'm going to show you guys all the materials I used to piece together the unit study, and then I'm going to jot down some key points that I want to go over with the kids, and then I'll show you it all summed up. The first thing I do when I'm planning my unit studies or any kind of lesson for the week is I pull out all the materials I have, lay them across the table, and then just kind of look through each one to see what I can use and what I can't. Alright, you guys, so I have everything written down on paper of what I want to do for our Bible unit study. We're doing Abraham. I'm just going to kind of show you the resources I used to get this information, and then I'll show you what I was able to kind of piece together. So the first thing I used was this Good News Bible Stories for Children. The second thing I used is this Tiny Truths Illustrated Bible. And then I used this My First Hands-On Bible. And I used, let me show you, this Big Book of Histories. It's year 1 of the Good and Beautiful's history curriculum. I actually got this like 3 years ago when I first started homeschooling my son, but I actually never used it. And I was flipping through it yesterday, and it has so many good resources that I can use and pull and tie into our Bible unit study. And I'll show you that in a second. The history year 1 actually comes with this book. It's the year 1 course book. And then it comes with this Big Book of History Stories. It has stories in it, and then a bunch of beautiful maps in the back that I'm going to use for geography lessons for the kids. Let me see if I can show you the one I was just looking at. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. I don't know. Oh, here we go. It's a map here I was looking at about ancient Egypt. So I'm going to use this as like a geography lesson for the kids. And then, so let me just show you what I wrote down. So for this week, we're doing Abraham tomorrow for Monday. For reading, I have us reading the Tiny Truths, page 30, which talks about Abraham. And I'll just show you that. What I do is when I find something I want to talk about with the kids, I just kind of use a Post-it to just like save the page so I'm not like going crazy on Monday. But we're going to read page 30 through 32 of God and Abraham's promise. Well, God's promise to Abraham. We're going to read that in there. And then we're also going to read page 30 and 41 on the hands-on Bible. And I'll tell you why I use different Bibles, because in the hands-on Bible, it has some stuff that the Tiny Truth does not. So on the hands-on Bible, it talks about God's rainbow promise. This is like after he destroyed the world with water with Noah. He promised he would never do that again. So this Bible has that in there. It also has the Tower of Babel in there, and I don't want to miss that for the kids. So I generally use the Bible Stories book, this Bible, and the Tiny Truth one to make sure I'm not missing any good Bible stories. So we're going to read about the rainbow promise, the Tower of Babel, and then it goes into God's promise to Abraham. It's only like 2 pages, so we'll just read it twice. So that's going to be our reading for Monday. We're going to read the Tiny Truths, God's Hand-On Bible, and then I wrote here like the 3 stories that are in each, so I remember what we're reading. And then for history, we're going to do copywork, mapping, and track Abraham's travel. And I'm using the Good and Beautiful History to do that, and I'll show you that here in a second. We're also doing some science and an obedience study, but I'll show you that in a second. All right, so in the Good and Beautiful History curriculum, they have these like worksheets that go with their curriculum. For here, this is the younger kids one. It's grades 1 through 3, and they have a section in their lesson 10 that talks about Abraham. So I'm going to have my kids just do this worksheet. He's going to do copy work here. He's going to copy that sentence. And then they have some mapping work here where he has to trace the Tigris and Euphrates River blue color, the Fertile Crescent green. So he gets to do a little bit of art, and they get to do some mapping. And then right here, you'll see for the older kids, for the copy work, they just replaced it with cursive instead of regular handwriting. And it's the same kind of mapping. So So that's what we're doing for history. And then for science, oh, I want to show you guys this too. We're also going to track Abraham's travels. In the Good and the Beautiful lesson 10, where it talks about Abraham, they have a little reading sequence here, which just basically tells you about Abraham's story, which we're going to read in the other 2 previous stories. But it also has a section where you get to track the travels of Abraham. So you would cut out these 4 cities, and then you match them up with the quotes on the side. So I'm going to have the kids do this, and we're going to kind of like track Abraham's travels using the maps that they have in the back of the book. Now for art, for this day, we're going to, I'll insert a picture of here what I'm talking about, but I found like a cute little craft on Pinterest that had a number 3, and you shaded in the 3 promises that God made to Abraham. And then for writing, we're just going to write, what promises have you made, and tell about a time where you kept a promise. And then we're going to complete our family tree. I'm going to have them do on one side of the construction paper, create the family tree for Abraham. And then on the back of it, we'll probably put the number 3 God promises craft. And then here I have obedience character study, because when I think of Abraham, I think of obedience. That's the first thing that popped in my head. So I had printed out some character study Bible work a while ago. If I remember where I got it from, I'll link it below. But it just has like different daily like lessons you can do about different things. So the first one is obedience. It tells you here, it's a little Bible scripture about obedience. It's 2 Timothy 3:15 through 17. So the children will read that. And then at the top, it tells you what to read, and then it asks you questions about what you read. And then it kind of breaks out the story here, consequences, sin, questions, and challenges, and then activities of the week. So we're going to do this, and there's like 3-4 days in here, so it might take us a couple weeks to get through that. So yeah, there's 4 days of the obedience study. So we'll do 2 days this week and 2 days next week. I cut our unit study down to 2 days. Just because on Mondays and Wednesdays, we're going to do our unit study. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we'll do our language arts and math and all the other stuff. And I'll do a separate video about why I made changes to that. And then for science, I just figured we could just do some solar system review, some Milky Way review. And all of these resources came from the Good and the Beautiful science space unit study that I kind of like tore apart. We'll do some review on the Milky Way, the galaxy, the solar system, and all that. Is just a quick review for the kids. So that is all we're going to do for Monday for our Bible unit study. Okay, so just to sum up unit study. So we're doing Abraham. For this one day, I've tied in reading, history and geography, science, art, writing. We're doing a character study, and we're doing a little bit more history with doing his Bible tree. So I just finished day 2 of our unit study this week. So I'm going to go over what I wrote down here, but I'll just show you what I used this time around. I used the history book again. They had a nice thing in there about Isaac and Rebecca. I used the hands-on Bible for this one, and then I used the book of children's stories. I didn't use Tiny Truths because this book actually had more in it. So for the hands-on Bible, we're going to read page 43, which is right here. And it just talks, oh no, I'm on the wrong page. We're going to read page 43. If I can get to it, you guys. I'm going to read page 43. It says Isaac is born. So we're going to read that with the kids, or have them read that, because I'm going to do a lot of reading along this day because there's 3 stories I have to read. So we're going to read about Abraham and Isaac, which is on page 14. I'm also going to read to the kids about Sodom and Gomorrah, which is on page 17. And I'm going to read about Esau and Jacob, which is on page 21. So I'm going to read to them page 14 through 21. So that's going to be our read aloud portion of the day. I'll read out of this book. I'll probably have them read out of this. So that covers our reading portion. And then of course I wrote it here, you know, what I'm going to read to them so I won't get confused. And then for history, we're going to do lesson 11 out of the Good and the Beautiful. It talks about Isaac, Rebecca, and the ancient trade routes. So I'll show you guys what that looks like right here. So I just kind of ripped it out of that book right there and put it into my binder. So it's lesson 11. It talks about Isaac and Rebecca, ancient trade routes. And then there's just a little section for me to read again to the kids. And then it talks about how the trade was back then. And it continues on this page. So I'll read all this to the kids, and then I'll tell them about the different things that people traded back then. And then there's actual pictures here of what the actual items look like. So I thought that would be cool. I'm gonna try to find like a documentary or something on YouTube to go along with this, because our day 2 is kind of short, but that's okay. I can find something else I'm sure to go through it, and if we have a short day, then that's okay. And then the next thing we're gonna do after we do history is for art. I just have them doing a family tree of Isaac and Rebecca and all their kids. And then the very last thing, and then my son just walked in, I got distracted. So for art, we're doing the family tree. And then the last thing we're gonna do this day is the obedience character study, which is right here. We're gonna do day 2, which is a story of Genesis 6-8. Noah chooses to obey God and his family, and he and his family are spared, if I can talk. And I'll just kind of slowly go down so you guys can see, you know, what we have to read, what the questions are, what the challenge is for that day. So after we do this for day 2, we're pretty much done. So I have our unit study planned out for this week. Like I said before, we're only gonna do 2 days of unit studying and 2 days of like language arts and math. And I do have a video coming out with why I made those changes. But I hope that, oh, one other thing I did, you guys, I want to show you. I decided to put this in a binder for a bunch of reasons. One, it helps me keep track of what we're doing each day. And then 2, it's good for me because the state we live in now, I have to keep a portfolio for the kids and myself. So it just kind of keeps me organized with having like our lesson plan here, and then all the, you know, supporting stuff I need to teach the actual lesson right behind it. And then it's all in a binder, easy for me to access, easy for me to show someone. So, all right, guys, it's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it. As always, I enjoyed making it. I hope it helped you in some way, seeing me kind of like write what's in my brain on paper. If you liked the video, please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button. Leave me any questions or comments you have below. I love answering questions about anything homeschool. And as always, I hope that after you watch my channel, you feel empowered and inspired in some kind of way. Thanks for watching. Bye.